What's up, Lost Boys? Here we are for another fantasy football video. Unfortunately, I am under the weather, boys, so I apologize in advance if this video sucks. But let's get right into it. Last week was it was an okay week in fantasy. Some blowouts, some close games, but nothing too crazy. So let's get into those games. First, speaking of blowouts, Josh destroyed Pat. Pat had been on a 5-game win streak going into this game. He had been the hottest team in the league and lost to Josh pretty handily. His team just didn't really show up. His guys that he picked up that were performing on Monday night did well, 24 points, 19 from Marvin Harrison. But it couldn't withstand the 37-point barrage that Brock Bowers decided to give Josh. Last week was the first week that Josh has had a healthy Brock Bowers and a healthy CeeDee Lamb on his team. So hopefully he can get his team rolling in the right direction. Josh smashes Pat. Next, we're going to look at Tim versus Justin and the big upset this week. Justin's team has been rolling. Now, these guys had similar records, close to it, but Justin had a much better team, in my opinion. He'd be putting up many more points, and Tim finally broke the 150 barrier this week with 152 points. Jackson Dart's a huge find for Tim, 27 points. And, a big trade was made with Cass in the middle of the week. I think it was maybe Saturday for Ted. Ted didn't really do much for him, but we'll get to Sam Darnold later when we talk about Cass's team. I mean, Tim's team just keeps getting carried by Christian McCaffrey. It's as simple as that. He got 31 points. He's basically the best player in fantasy right now, him or Jonathan Taylor. Speaking of best player in fantasy, that was Puka Nacua, and he still got Justin almost 20 points. So he's a stud. But the craziest thing for Justin was Rome Odunze. That game had almost 100 points in it. And Rome Odunze somehow got zero points. All he needed was 16 points from Rome Odunze. With his team scoring 47 points, he got 0. So that had to be quite frustrating for Justin. And another thing, Dak should have done much better, but he had a sloppy, his worst game of the season, in my opinion, on Monday Night Football. Either way, Tim gets the dub and moves to 5-4. Next, speaking of upsets, Denny takes down Jace, 155-133. Jace was in first place. Now he falls. Denny takes him down. Denny knows more than I do. After the Tua trade, he got that cancer off his team, and his team hasn't really lost since. His team is rolling. I think he's won 4 out of the last 5 games, which is insane. He's making moves whenever he can. But his Stafford, Herbert, their floors are so high, they're going to get him a good amount of points. And Denny has wide receiver 1 in fantasy, Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's the best wide receiver in fantasy right now. He has Trey McBride, and he's getting these dubs without Jahmyr Gibbs really doing much the last couple weeks. So if Jahmyr Gibbs ends up stepping up, Denny's team could be one to watch out for. Jace, on the other hand, he falls to 5-4. He started this season, I think, 3-0. He's gone 2-4 ever since. He's still doing pretty good. His quarterbacks, scored him 50 points, 28 from Allen, 22 from Penix, 16 from Rice. But if Jonathan Taylor isn't scoring him 30 points every week, which is what he has been, then Jace's positional players look kind of weak. Tyrone Tracy doesn't look like what he's going to be the rest of the season. Ain't going to be too good. And the biggest story right now for Jace is Tucker Kraft out for the year with a torn ACL. Tucker Kraft's been the #1 fantasy football tight end. He had that monster game 2 weeks ago, and he tears his ACL. So Jace has got to be scrambling. He lost Tyreek Hill for the year. He lost Tucker Kraft for the year. Hopefully he can find some guys to plug and play. He still has an insane point lead on a lot of teams in the league, so that's one good thing for him. Next, we're going to look at Learning Computer for Cass. Cass takes down Matt this week, 150-120. This one wasn't really that close. Speaking of that trade with Tim, it was Tet for Mr. Sam Darnold. And Darnold pays dividends right off the bat, 27 points. and they weren't even really trying. That could be a great trade for Cass. You know, QB's been his weak spot all year. Um, but he looking with JJ McCarthy back and Sam Darnold, that could be his strength of his team. You combine that with JJ, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, and maybe Kittle with Purdy. Cass's team might make a nice little run here at the end of the season. Roman, on the other hand, bad games from Jordan Love, bad games from Javonte Williams. Kamara, .2, can't do it. He only puts up 120. Matt had a rough week. Cass takes down Matt. And our fifth and final game from last week was our closest game of the week. Was Llama versus Cal. You know, Cal really is trying to avoid that last place barrel and stand up guillotine, but he needed a win this week, and this was the chance. Ryan had some guys on bye, and it didn't matter. Ryan put up 171. Cal put up 162, which is bad luck for Cal. I mean, he put up the third most points in the league this week. He just happened to play the guy that has scored the second most points, and it's just frustrating because you lose a great game from Caleb Williams and DJ Moore combo. And Genty even got a touchdown. But Nico Collins needs to do a little bit more. Xavier Worthy's been terrible ever since Rice came back. It's bummer for Cal. You know, Drake London gives Ryan 34 points. Rico Dowdle for Ryan might be the best pickup of the year at the end of the season. I mean, the guy has been so good, and the coach is coming out saying that they're going to make him the primary ball carrier for Carolina. Carolina doesn't want to pass the ball. They just want to run it 50 times a game. So that's going to help Ryan. Ryan's team's looking really, really good. He's through a lot of his buys. He has this week left, which has Mahomes on bye. I think after that, Ryan should be in the clear for the most part with his studs. And he's sitting in first place right now. So Ryan is doing great. Sorry, Cal, that was a rough game, brother. All right, we're going to look at the standings real quick, guys. I mentioned Ryan being in first place. He is the lone 6-3 guy, so that puts him at number 1. Then we have a massive log jam at 5-4 teams. 6 teams at 5-4, only separated by points right now, which is absolutely crazy to think. So you have second place Jace with 1457 in points. Third place Josh with 1451 in points. Then you have Denny with 1349, over 100 points behind them. That's your top 4. Those are your playoff teams at the moment. Justin's fallen back down to earth over the last 3 or 4 weeks. He hasn't been putting up the point totals he was early in the year, and now his point lead has evaporated. He's fallen to 5th place. Pat, after that 5-game win streak, he's still 5-4. He's still tied there, but we talked about it at the beginning of the season. His point total is going to come back and bite him in the ass. He needs to squeak out a few more wins towards the latter end of the season. He has to get in the playoffs with record because he's not going to do it. He's at 12-10 in points. Speaking of low points, the other 5-4 team is Tim, 1168. Pat even passed Tim up. So Tim's even in a more rough spot. So these guys, they need to win, and they need to put up more points. And then you got Steve Harvey's Pants. He's in 8th place by himself at 4-5. He does have 1202 points, but Cass's team seems to be going maybe in the right direction. We'll see if he can get a couple victories coming up. Then the lone 3-6 team, Learning Computers. And then we got our last place team, Cal, at 2-7. Cal and Learning Computers are battling right now. Learning Computer, though, Matt has about a 60-65 point lead on Cal. Cal did a really good job this week with the 160 points to try to make up for that, but he's got a lot of work to do. Both these teams, Matt on a 3-game losing streak, and Cal on a 4-game losing streak. So, rough situation, but that's our standings, guys. Real quick, we're going to look at the game preview. My game of the week is Justin versus Ryan. Justin really needs this victory, and I mentioned Ryan. He doesn't have Mahomes this week, so it's a decent week to play him. Justin has A.J. Brown back. He has Puka back. He has Purdy. He has Aaron Rodgers. He has Bijan. So Justin has most of his studs this is the week to take down Ryan. I think Justin has a good shot. We'll see if Purdy plays. Um, Baker's been so good for Ryan, but he is playing that New England D that's been really good. We'll see. I'm going to give the edge to Justin this week. I think he moves to 6-4 and gets a tight win against Ryan. But I think this game's going to be awesome. Next, we're going to go Tim versus Jace. Speaking of guys that need a win, Tim, like I said, his point total is so low. He needs to keep winning. It's going to be tough playing Jace, though. He's got those two studs at quarterback, but all of a sudden, because these injuries, you know, Jace's team is looking rough. His 3 starting wide receivers are Stephon Diggs, Dyami Brown, and Malik Washington. What are we doing here, brother? We can't be doing that. And Troy Franklin and flex. So Jace is just picking rabbits out of the dirt for wide receivers, and I think that's going to be his downfall. I think Tim actually squeaks out a win this week over Jace's team with Jackson Dart getting some rushing yards. I think he counteracts one of Jace's rushing quarterbacks, and Tim uses Christian McCaffrey, his almighty equalizer, to get the dub. Next, we're going to look at Josh versus Learning Computer. Both of these teams need wins. This is going to be a really tight one. Matt finally reaping the rewards of getting Lamar Jackson back healthy. Had him 4 touchdowns last week. Going against Minnesota this week in the Dome. Lamar's going to be great. Looks like Garrett Wilson's coming back for Matt as well. So Matt is getting healthier, and he's going against Josh. A lot of times teams perform really well against Josh. I think Matt's going to put up a lot of points. A-Chain, Garrett Wilson, Lamar, Jordan Love, they all have good matchups this week. And Chris Godwin might be coming back as well. Josh does also have his first round pick, CeeDee Lamb, on bye. So we'll see. This is going to be a tight one. I'm going to give the slight edge to Josh, but this is up in the air. Denny versus Cass. I got a really bad diarrhea coming, so I'm going to run through these real quick. Denny versus Cass, close game, awesome game. I think this is going to be close to the game of the week, but I'm going to give the edge to Cass. I think Cass knocks Denny down off his win streak. And then the last game, Titty Biscuits versus Gigatrox. Cal has to have a victory right here, or else it's pretty much nail in the coffin. So, all right, I love you guys. Go Chiefs, go Bears. I'll see you guys later.